All right, well, welcome back with another episode of Next Up with Purdue IE. I'm your host, Daniel Roberts. Always a special shout out to Dave Montgomery in the back who does the recording, the editing. Amazing guy. He will get shout outs forever as long as I'm here. Today we have a special guest. All our guests are special, but this one is I'm going to let her talk a little bit more about herself, but I would like to introduce Marian Obuseh.
Yes.
Yeah, I got it. Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Daniel. My name is Marian. Thanks. I am a fourth year PhD student. Actually, no. So I passed my candidacy exam yesterday. So I'm a fourth year PhD candidate. I should get used to that in the School of Industrial Engineering here at Purdue, working with Danny Yu in the Healthcare Ergonomics Analytics Lab. It's very nice to be here.
Shout out to Danny Yu, by the way.
Yes.
That's my guy. Before we start, can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
I'm originally from Nigeria. I did my bachelor's in industrial engineering back home in Nigeria. And I came here for grad school, straight into the PhD. Outside work, you typically find me sleeping or maybe seeing a movie or just spending time with loved ones and, catching up with friends and family, because that's really important to keep sane in, all of the stress of work. But yeah, I think that's pretty much me.
This is a random question. What was the last movie you watched?
Oh gosh, good question. I think it was Snatched. So FYI, it's a Nollywood movie, so movies from Nigeria.
Okay.
I like to watch them once in a while just to stay in touch.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was just a local movie from back home. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So before we start, I like to do like icebreakers with my guests. I like to do these affirmations, like word of the day. It's kind of just something to motivate me to get me through the day. It's just so like little reminders. So what is your word of the day and why?
I think my word of the day today and probably almost every day is grace. Because I think for me, I could do all of like the work, but it just takes the grace of, because I'm a believer of God, to continue to get results, and, get blessed and get favored. So for me, that word would always be grace, because I feel like cut away from that, I really can't do nothing. If I had my way, I'll just, be chilling, relaxing. So yeah, grace.
Amen, by the way. My word is gratitude. Kind of ties in a little bit with what you kind of said with grace, but just being grateful for gratitude, being grateful of like things I already have,
right?
Like waking up in the morning and just having gratitude that I actually have the opportunity to wake up in the morning.
Exactly.
Because sometimes we forget that. Like I tell my students all the time, if you wake up in the morning, you can change the world. So having gratitude, being grateful for the people that's in my life, who choose to stay in my life, who comes in my life, and sometimes those gratitude for the people that exit my life as well, because it's just like it's an opportunity for learning and opportunity for growth. I think the cool thing about gratitude is acknowledging what you have, because like a lot of people in the world don't have what we have right now.
Right.
Some people don't have a place to sleep in, or food, or clothes on their back. So like sometimes I have to remind myself over and over that having gratitude.
Yeah, I think that takes some intentionality too. So yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit about your research project that you received the Best Student Paper Award for at the IISE Conference and Expo. I always mix up that word. I don't know why. I just mix up
something with the double I's.
Yeah, the double I's is always what gets me. But
Yeah.
can you share more about the research project that you did earn that award for, and how does that sensor-based framework for layout workflow assessment in surgical operating rooms differ to traditional observational studies?
Right. So ideally, or like what goes on in the field currently is when people want to study workflows or just interactions in the operating room, it's mostly observational. And so sometimes there's someone in the room who's observing everything going on and like taking notes. Other times they're like video recorded, and these observers can offline watch these videos and take notes of what's going on. But obviously there's some, I guess, limitations of that. So depending on the experience of the observer, their findings could vary. And so we decided just to mitigate some of these biases. It also takes a good amount of time to code video recording. So having to go through every minute of a video can get very monotonous and boring. So, and of course, IE is all about efficiency and improving processes and all of that good stuff. So we figured, how about we try and use wearable sensors to improve this process? And so with having very tiny wearable motion sensors on people, we can easily get data, objective data of people's interactions and the workflows and how that affects the, really large equipment and the OR and how it gets moved around. So I think for me, it was just that piece of being more efficient instead of having like humans do this observations. Can we get sensors and can we get more objective data to get this done? So that was very high level, the motivation for that work. Yeah.
How do you feel like knowing that your work is being recognized? Because like you said, that best award, that means like your paper stand out from a lot of other qualified individuals. What do you think stood out from your paper that probably...
Honestly, I think it first came as a really big surprise to me when I got the email. I'm like, who, me? And I was like, oh wow, this is really good. I felt very happy about it. But it also goes a long way to show me that the work I do matters. That makes sense, because sometimes it's easy to feel like it's just another thing that I have to get done. But when you know that you're being recognized for it, then it's impactful somewhere and people see the value in the work. And so that's really good to keep going for me. So yeah, it was very good to know.
So on top of that award, because you're collecting awards like Infinity Stones, so I want to make sure I congratulate you on your Aspirations in Computing Collegiate Award recipient by the National Center of Women Information Technology.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Can you tell me more about your project? So you already talked a little bit earlier about your research, but can you tell me about your project about sensor-based surgical data science and human factors in robotic assisted surgeries, and how it demonstrates creativity and potential impact in the field of computing? I know that's a lot of words.
So I think that entire work really sums up my dissertation, where we're trying to get as much wearable sensors in the operating room to better measure some of these physiological behavioral measures from the surgeon, who's the team leader. And so we know that surgeons are very well trained on technical skills. They go through years of training in medical school and residency and all that good stuff. But the non-technical skills, not so much. So things like their decision making or their situation awareness or leadership skills, for example, or communication. And so it's just a lot of trying to use sensors to objectively quantify these things so we can in turn design training programs or coaching interventions to improve these measures in surgeons. So some of the sensors that we use in the operating rooms are, we have wearable lapel microphones, which is basically just to get clear recordings of every single interaction that goes on. Sometimes have EEGs or electroencephalograms, which measure brain activity. From that we can also get more objective measures of cognitive workload. And we also have eye trackers for better understanding eye behavior, and of course video cameras. So trying to make sense of all of those data streams, and that's an entire different field called surgical data science. So basically just data science, but specifically applied to surgeries and all of the wearable equipment that produce data in the rooms. So yeah, I think that was the goal of the entire work. It's trying to get better. Again, back to that core IE goal of optimization and process improvement, of getting better at how we assess non-technical skills in surgeries. So I think that's the core of that work. And again, I was surprised hearing that I was a finalist. It just goes a long way to show that people, or at least somebody who's not in my field, sees the impact or like how important this thing is, and that's very good to know.
Yeah, you just collecting words. Just
What can I say?
What, you gonna get a ping on your phone? Hey, you got this award too. So I want to kind of go off of what you just said about. I'm as IEs, we're very forward thinking. We're about optimization, human factors, and other entities that help progress the future. So so let's think forward thinking in the surgical or the medical world. What do you see happening for our future in the medical industry, and how can IEs make an impact to help with the future of the medical field? Because obviously we're kind of leaning more towards robotics, and what can IEs do to kind of impact that from your perspective?
Right. That's a great question. I think with all of the technologies that surgeons and healthcare workers use, it's really important that these technologies are designed specifically for use by these people, and the designers avoid experts' bias and just feel like because something has been properly designed and it's functional, not fall into the trap that is going to be usable just because it's functional. And so it's important that we understand how healthcare workers are interacting with technologies, because it definitely plays a huge role in outcomes, patient outcomes, the quality of the work that they do. So I think that's one way that industrial engineering, and specifically human factors, can come into play. With things like surgical robots, that's a huge invention, for sure not even available in a lot of countries in the world. And so it's really important that these innovations are being designed with the surgeons in mind, who are the people who are going to be using these things. Obviously not the engineers, right? So it's important that we understand the capabilities and the limitations, and also the background of the people who will be using it, which are the surgeons. And we can also design some training, again, just to make sure that even if it's not initially the most, I guess the word is user-friendly, people can learn to use it. It's probably not the most optimal, but like making sure that there are opportunities for surgeons and healthcare workers to get trained on, getting more facile with some of these technologies. I think that's important. But yeah, that's a little bit about the role of IE and like human factors and human-computer interaction in all of these technological inventions going on in healthcare today. Yeah.
That is a great answer, and it's interesting because like I'm into sci-fi, so like I like to watch like the futuristic, and like sometimes I see like all these robotics, like literally they're doing a certain like the
taking over.
I know this is a funny, out of weird question, but do you think that's even a possibility that may actually happen, where the surgeon won't actually have to be in the room anymore, that they could just watch and the surgery actually, like the robotics will be the one actually doing the surgery? Do you think that's even a possibility with like AI and everything kind of taking over? Like now, I think I don't know if I got the company, but they're creating, and I want to say it's Lexus, but they're creating a AI, like almost like, so if you're driving by yourself, you can have a passenger driver right next to you, so that way you don't fall asleep.
Yeah.
And then obviously with Tesla, like the self-driving and everything, do you think we're going to get to that point with the medical field?
I mean, I hope we don't, because I think it's really important that someone who's well trained, who can take judgment and decisions and know when something's not right, and jump in and fix situations is right there, because surgeries is really high stake. It's literally a matter of life and death. Not like driving is any less important, but I think that the technologies can help surgeons a lot, can go a really long way, and it's already doing that. I mean, these days, all the surgeon does is stay behind a console and tell your first the robot to get the surgery done. And that has like immense benefit both to the surgeon and to the patient. So the patient doesn't need to spend like, I don't know, 1,000 days in recovery just because they're making much tinier and like minimal incisions instead. So I think there is that. Ideally, should be that blend of this technology supporting humans or the surgeons, and of course filling in the gaps when need be. So I feel like it has to be leveraging the best of both worlds, but not dumping all of that effort on technology. I don't know that people would be really comfortable if they told them that, oh, you're gonna have a surgery and a robot is gonna do that on you, no supervision. I feel like we definitely still need that human intervention, at least at the supervisory level. Yeah.
And it's interesting because we're focusing on the human factors and making sure that people have long-lasting lives as far as working in the industry of IE and optimization. And I always wonder if that's gonna be our future, because you're seeing AI is like literally taking over, like everything is AI now, like artificial intelligence. We pretty much got a minor for it now because it's becoming, and eventually we'll have a major for it. Do you have concerns with the future as far as AI technology?
Yeah.
Because I know the goal is to make it easier on humans, but at the same time, are we taking away that, almost that, I won't say spirit, but that
humanness?
Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense. I feel like there is an entire field just really dedicated to making sure that we're developing and designing these AIs in a very human-centered way. So there's all of the ethics around AI and like the privacy concerns. So I feel like as much as these inventions are really cool and awesome, people are getting to see that there can be a lot of biases around them. They're only as good as the data that they're being trained on. And so if that data is not really representative of the diverse use cases, then obviously that's a glitch. And so a lot of researchers are, of course, spending a lot of time just trying to make sure that these AI systems are more ethical and safe, and people don't, or at least should worry less about the privacy concerns of those things. So I think there's still a lot of work to be done in that space. It's still all like coming out. I mean, I feel like each day there is some new intervention here and there. So things are going really fast, and I guess that's why, like you said, there's not a minor in AI, and that's why we have engineers also jumping in and seeing how we can all work together hand in hand to make sure everything works well for everyone.
That's a good answer. Yeah, because I always get worried about that. I'm like, all right. Like you have people that write papers and emails with AI, and it's like, okay, all right. So I want to kind of touch back on your research. Using sensors to understand the physical and kind of cognitive effects of integrating robotics technology into the operating rooms. How do you envision the future of robotic assisted surgery, which you kind of touched on a little bit, but robotic assisted surgery, and what role do you see human factors playing in the evolving landscape?
Yeah, so I think that because of how almost mainstream surgical robots are becoming, they're almost becoming like a new surgical team member because, you know, the surgeries are getting done through them. It's really important that we're designing the things around the current understanding of how the surgical teams work and how that integration will sort of affect it. And so that's really where some of my research comes in, where I'm looking more at the non-technical skills. So, for example, in these procedures, the surgeon is teleoperating the robot and is like at some distance away from the rest of the surgical team. Sometimes it's probably not even in the same room. And so how does that affect the communication among other team members? How does that affect the surgeon's awareness of what's going on in the room? Because they're really just hyper-focused on the visual displays of the console because they have to see what they're doing. And so it's like, in the middle of all of that tunnel vision, how do you make sure they're still aware of what's going on? How do they ensure that their needs are still getting met? And so I think that's where all of the human factors aspect, the non-technical skills, and trying to use sensors to better understand those things and in turn train or deliver interventions to surgical teams, specifically surgeons, to get better at managing some of these challenges that can arise from these technologies. They're great, they're awesome, but like, you know, sometimes you need to work around some of those challenges.
You imagine robotics, but like, all right, I need you to wash my hands before I start. The water just hit you in the face, like, oh no, this. I didn't build this for that. I completely understand that. Like with the way the future is going, like I said, we talked about it earlier. You talked about it again. It's just that human factor. Like I don't understand, like with the culture, why is we're becoming more and more obsessed with taking away that human factor. And I think COVID, and I could be wrong, but I think COVID played a role too, because a lot of people kind of lost that human factor. So they were like, okay, how? In a good way, it helped to create some new technologies, some new things, but also I see the negative, and I try to understand both sides. But I think COVID kind of played that role of like why this is continuing to grow and why AI is
exploding.
And you talked about the unbiased and the ethical, and like the people that's providing the data is scary because like as a person that works and does DIB, the diversity, inclusion, belonging, and teach about implicit biases and microaggressions, is though, and sometimes I wonder if those things are being taught to the AI systems, like what information is being inputted. Is it being too technical? Because you can, let's say if you ask a question like, is water wet? And the AI is like, well, technically, it depends if it's in the freezer. But, and I want to go, I want to kind of touch back because you had an amazing opportunity to work at Google because you flaunt your Google shirt on. Like, I just make sure people know you work for Google Video, get a good picture of that. You working at Google, you were working on wearables user experience key performance on an indicator team. Can you share the insight into how you were contributing, identifying engineering requirements to enhance the user experience of wearable technologies, and what lessons from your PhD are you applying to the industry setting?
That's a great question. I'll probably start from the last question. So I feel like my PhD training has really exposed me to a lot methodologically, and just building my methods toolkits to knowing first how to design research, how to scope a research problem, understanding how to even work with stakeholders, because that's a really important skill you need to learn. And I'm thankful that I've had the opportunity to work on like cross-disciplinary work, doing a lot of work with IU Health and working with surgeons and clinicians. It's been really great. And so back to some of what I did at Google. So I can't really go into all of that like detail, but the whole idea is defining some of these engineering requirements, but from the perspective of the end user. So trying to make sure that people are having great experiences when talking to their wearable devices. And I feel like my training here in IE was really integral to developing some of the skills that I used to achieve that project. So yeah, it was a really great experience.
That is awesome. You were at Google, and you just got swag and everything.
No.
You like, I can't talk too much about that, but
I can share this.
It's okay. I understand. It's part of your business.
Yeah.
For a future individual that another Marian that is looking into a PhD, what advice would you give that individual when pursuing a PhD, and why Purdue IE is the best place for them to go?
Like Purdue IE has given me a lot of opportunities that I did not even think I could reach or grasp, if that makes sense. And of course, it's challenging. Like I've had to learn and grow, relearn, unlearn, and do all of that. But it's definitely been worth it. Something else to call out is the support that the school provides. I feel really grateful for my advisor who's been like really supportive so far. And then all the staff of IE, because like sometimes I feel like I probably send a lot of emails to Purdue IE staff with one request or the other, and I'm like, I just hope they don't one day tell me, girl, this is too much stuff. But it's like every single time I reach out for some help or advice or support or the other, they give me that and more. So for me, it's really good to know that there is that good support system here in IE. Even when I have challenges that are outside the department, like there is that help that I know that if I come back here, they would help me navigate it and just go through it. So it's really supportive. We have really the best faculty here, like really kind, smart people. That honestly, I feel like that significantly improves the experience of students here. And so my advice would be, if IE or PhD is in your near future, you should definitely be considering Purdue IE. It's really broad. There's practically no IE research that's not going on here in the school of IE. So I really don't care what it is you want to study. There's probably a faculty here that is an expert in that area. So definitely be considering it here.
So this moment is our section where I like to give the guests opportunity to give shout outs to whether it's their loved ones, their family, their friends, their advisor. Just it's our opportunity just to kind of give your people their flowers.
Of course, thank you so much. So I feel like first I will give a big shout out to Denny. He's been really supportive, and I also give a shout out to my committee members for all their feedback in my work, and a big shout out to my family back home in Nigeria and in Missouri. You guys are the absolute best. Your support and love is enormous. Shout out to my partner. Shout out to my friends. I'm really, really grateful, and I don't think I would trade any of my loved ones at all. So thank you guys so much.
Oh, that is super sweet. I would thank you.
Thank you.
Obviously, I'd like to give my shout outs to PYE, Dave Montgomery, college engineering, but most of all, give a shout out to you because you took the time out of your day to grace us with your presence. See how to use grace.
You see?
Grace us with your presence. But no, I'm very appreciative. Congratulations for all the awards and finalists that you stuff you, and there's more coming. So because you collected awards like Infinity Stones. No, but I'm proud of you, because I know you mentioned that you're in your fourth year now, and it's a marathon. You almost finished.
Right.
You're literally at the finish line.
That's it. Yeah.
So again, thank you for coming to the show, talking with us. Hopefully, in a year we can have another conversation. But hey, I got my PhD. Better call me doctor now. Put some respect on my name.
Girls, can't wait.
Let them know. Put some respect on your name.
Yep.
You staying on business. Let them know.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, thank you so much.
You,
I wish you nothing but the best.
Thank you.
I wish you success, abundance of success, blessings, because there's blessings coming your way.
Thank you.
But that's another episode of Next Up with Purdue IE. Thank you for my listeners on Spotify, on YouTube, Make sure you follow us on Instagram at Purdue.edu, or you can follow us on Facebook, um, X, which if some people don't know what it is Twitter, and LinkedIn as well, for recent news recaps, our podcasts. But thank you for your time and thank you for listening. Have a good day.